Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to another episode of the Total Boss Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a gay men's relationship coach, helping gay men to attract and create healthy, happy, passionate, and loving relationships in their life. Now, this week on the podcast, I'm going to do something completely different to usual, and I'm going to spend my time here honoring someone who I absolutely adore, who I've admired for over 20 years, and that is the legendary, the iconic, the fantastic, the fabulous Serena Williams, who has just, she's not retired, she's evolving away from tennis and moving into continuing to grow her family and to grow her business, which is investing in startup companies, female startup companies, people of color, female startup companies, and she wants to really go and do some other endeavors. And, I've been following Serena Williams pretty much her entire career. I mean, I started really watching tennis and really getting into tennis back in 1999. And that was actually the year that she won her very first Grand Slam and really came of age at the US Open. So pretty much, the whole entire time I've ever watched tennis, she's been there. So to have her no longer here is a sad moment for me, which is why I really want to spend the time today really honoring her career and kind of the things that I really admire about her as a person, as an advocate, as a mentor, right? Because she is a leader, right? How she lives her life is leading other people, because again, within her position, she really transcends the tennis and sport in general, right? She's not only the best female tennis player of all time, she's probably the best tennis player of all time when it comes to statistics, longevity, etc. She's probably the best athlete of all time, regardless of male or female, right? Look at her career and what she's been able to do. But she also transcends it into pop culture. She's been in movies herself as an actress, a TV show as actresses. She's had a movie that revolves around her and her family, with King Richard. Her and sister Venus have been like the biggest things that have probably shifted and changed tennis over the last 25 years, right? Really take the game to a whole new level, a whole new thing when it comes to power tennis, right? And also, she's out there, in music videos with Beyonce, like other people, like she is celebrity status, right? And to this point, her legacy for tennis will be there, of course, which is fantastic and a magnitude, but her legacy as a person is going to continue on, because what she's been able to do for her culture, her people, has just transcended that. And what she's had to deal with and come back from and fight through so many times throughout her career is absolutely, second to none. There's not going to be someone out there who could ever say that they could fight the way that Serena Williams has fought throughout her career, right? You talk about someone who has a fighting spirit. What I love about Serena, from the very moment I ever saw her, was just the power she had, because before that, the tennis was never that powerful. She came in, they brought in the grunting, they brought in this grit, they brought in the fighting spirit, the tenacity, the never give up, right? It was completely fight to the death, right? It was a battle out there, and she and Venus were the people that really took it to that next level, right? And for someone who's the younger sister, she was the first person to ever win a Grand Slam. Obviously, like I said, the US Open. Her sister Venus did it the following year and has had an amazing career of herself. And as Serena said, there would be no Serena without Venus. So Venus, phenomenal. And what they've done together, in doubles as well. They've won 16 Grand Slam doubles titles together. They've won all the big majors together. They've won Olympic golds together. So not only as a singles player, but as a doubles player, her career is phenomenal as well, right? But when you look at her statistics in singles, 23 Grand Slam singles titles. That's more than anybody, male or female, in the Open era. And when you think about that, 7 Australian Opens, 3 French Opens, 7 Wimbledons, and 6 US Opens. She's won every single Grand Slam at least 3 times, right? Now, if you look at Nadal and Djokovic, they've won them all twice, right? So her statistics outweigh the men's, right? When you look at it like that, right? She won the gold medals in there as well. All of the top 3 have won a gold medal, right? Djokovic hasn't, right? He never did. So you look at it and you compare them and you say her career has been better, and she's had to go through so many things over that career, and she's beaten people from so many different generations. She's got winning records against everybody who was big, right? Monica Seles, Lindsay Davenport, Martina Hingis, Steffi Graf, Venus Williams, Kim Clijsters, Justine Henin, Maria Sharapova. You think of the names, you can rattle them off, and she's got a winning record against them all because she was the best of her generation, but her generation has lasted 25 years. Most people's careers are over by the time they're 30. She's just almost about to turn 41, and this is when she's evolving away from tennis here. And she got to do it on her terms and choosing to. Now, if she wanted to continue on, she could continue on. She could probably come back from time off and really fight for the big titles, right? It takes a lot of effort, right? And she did pretty well at the US Open so far. Like I said, she beat the world number 2 here. So it's not like she's walking away, a losing player. She still did really, really, really well, right? She's had so many things that have happened in her career that have actually changed the game forever. And also things that, she's had to fight against, social things as well, right? I remember back in the early 2000s, I think it was 2002 at Indian Wells, where she and her sister were supposed to play a semi-final together against each other. And unfortunately, Venus had to pull out due to injury. The crowd did not like it. When she went to play the final against Kim Clijsters, it went crazy. There was booing. They were racially calling out names to Serena the whole match. Literally, the whole crowd was against her, right? She was crying at the change of ends. But Serena Williams won that match, right? Serena Williams did not give up, did not allow these people to fuck her over. She said to herself, no, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do it. And she vowed to never play in Indian Wells again. And I wouldn't blame her if she did that, because if I sat somewhere where the crowd was racially calling out stuff to me and to my family in the crowds, that wouldn't happen today, right? That would not be allowed to happen today, right? Look how far we've come. But 20 years ago, where this was allowed and that happened, is ridiculous, far out. And the fact that she pushed through to win shows a level of strength and a level of grit that, is second to none, because most people probably wouldn't have stayed out there. They would have left, or they would have fallen apart at the seams. But she decided to keep going and win because it meant more to her to fight there and fight the battle as a strong black woman than to walk away from it. So that is props to someone there. Like if that was the only thing that happened, boom, you'd say fucking phenomenal. But so many times in her career, she's had to do things like that. You look at the US Open specifically, there was a match she played against Jennifer Capriati. I think it was 2005 or 6 or one of those years. It was mid-early 2000s, right? And there were balls that were, 30 centimeters in that were getting called out by the umpire, by the lines people. There was this huge level of cheating that was going on because they wanted the white girl Capriati to win. I'm not taking away anything from Capriati, because Capriati is an amazing player, Grand Slam champion herself, and a formidable opponent of Serena. But the fact that there were balls that were bounced so clearly in that were getting called out is a level again of racism that she has had to put up with in her career. Right? She lost that match. Now, if they didn't have to do that, would she have won? She probably would have won, but she may not have, right? But don't allow things like that to happen where it's unfair, where points are so close that she then gets called, she loses because of cheating, right? That, for most people, they may not ever want to play that tournament again, right? And going back to Indian Wells, she not only vowed to never come back, but 13 years later in 2015, she actually decided to come back and forgive people because she wanted to move forward in her own heart. And because she's a very spiritual person, she believes in that and she believes in forgiveness. And it was her, something for her that transcended tennis was to go back and to be able to forgive and play that tournament and let that chapter be at rest, right? And the phenomenal thing about it was that these types of things for Serena, they get talked about and have interviews, and she's on the cover of Vogue magazine, right? When she did her 2015, when she came back, she wrote, I think it was an open letter to Indian Wells, forgiving them and choosing to come back. Now, you tell me any other person, tennis player or sport person, that would probably ever have that opportunity or do that, right? This is how much she transcends sport. For her to evolve away from tennis, it was announced by her doing the cover of the September issue of Vogue, which for people who followed the fashion, well, the September issue is probably the biggest issue of the season. She's on the cover and there's a whole 12-page article about her evolving away from tennis and what tennis meant to her in her life. Again, these types of things do not happen to just normal people. They happen to icons. They happen to legends, people who transcend the sport of tennis and are in everywhere else in pop culture, fashion, entertainment, music, movies, TV, all of that stuff, right? Again, that is how legendary Serena Williams is, right? Again, so many things have happened at the US Open that happened to her where there was adversity after adversity. There was another match where she played Kim Clijsters, I think maybe 2009 or 2010, right when Kim Clijsters was coming back. It was the semifinals of a Grand Slam, a heated match. It's match point, and the lines person goes up to the judge and says that Serena threatened to kill her. I doubt that Serena would threaten to kill a lines judge, right? Anyway, at the heat of the moment, she lost the point, which meant she lost the match, right? These are the things that have not happened to any other player like that. These are the moments that Serena has had to go through in her life, right? Being a strong black woman, again, had to be criticized for her personality, or what people would call aggression. Again, microaggressions towards black people. Her match against Osaka just a few years ago at the US Open was the final, right? And she's obviously getting upset, heated at the match, which so many players do if you ever watch and follow tennis. And she was getting penalty after penalty in this match. Now, so many men's players get done and they don't get penalized, but she got penalized not only a warning, point penalty, game penalty, right? She was losing games at some points. Yes, maybe some of her behavior might not have, been accurate, but the way it was handled was poorly done. And again, if it wasn't for Serena Williams, it would have been handled differently. It's a Grand Slam final. Tempers are high. You have to understand that. Again, that match went crazy and the crowd went nuts, and the whole way through the speech for Osaka, because Osaka won, she was there trying to console Osaka, and she's the one that's being violated as well. So when you look at what happens, not only is she a amazing, phenomenal, iconic tennis player that can never be matched, she's also a phenomenal person, a phenomenal human being, right? So powerful for black people, for people of color, for women, right? I'm sure there's so many people in her community that are little girls now believing that they can grow up and be like Serena Williams, right? Think back. She's not the first, obviously, African-American tennis player to do great things, right? There's been some before her, of course. So that's not to be questioned. But for her to what she's done and taken it, and in a level where, social media and how things have grown and the world has come, she has changed the way for sport is forever. Not just tennis. She brought tennis into a new era, a whole new level, and so many players after her have come, probably may not have been there if it wasn't for Serena Williams and what she's done. Now, I'm so blessed to have followed her, and I will continue to follow her career outside of tennis. I just want to say that she inspires me as a person. She inspires me as a coach, and she inspires me as an advocate for people in my community, right? Because of the way that she shows up as a human being, as a tennis player, uses her platform for good. And what she's doing with her career afterwards is, again, helping women, helping people of color to build businesses and have a leg up when so many people out there don't give those opportunities, right? So this is the reason why I love Serena Williams so much, and I'm passionate, as you can probably hear in what I'm saying, because she's an advocate for women, she's an advocate for people of color, and she's an advocate for the sport of tennis, and has left a legacy that is far beyond just tennis. And I know in my heart that I'm going to miss watching her play, because again, she's always been my favorite player of all time, and I'm so glad to have been able to watch her throughout her career. But again, why I love her is more about the person she is, the leader she is, the mentor she is, the advocate she is. And that is something that maybe we should all have a look at as to how we live our life, right? There's always going to be ups and downs, and her downs have been public in front of the entire world. Like I said, having 10,000 people booing you and racially calling racial slurs out to you, nobody should have to go through that. But the way she's handled that and moved on, and her spiritual side and her love within herself, just takes things to a whole new level. So for me, I know I'm going to miss her as a tennis player, but I'm going to follow her career and see her grow. So again, if you're a Serena fan and you love this, or you know, maybe you haven't, maybe I'd love for you to look it up. But if you are a Serena fan, I'd love for you to share with me, what's one of your favorite moments of Serena? What's a memory that you'll remember from her playing tennis? For me, again, it's that tenacity, that fighting spirit, that grunt, it just took a different level of femininity there. She brought that power into to what I see in women, and she used it there. So many people had called her out of her name and called her a man and all these things because of the way she has played and her muscular physique, right? She's just done the best she could in her career and fitness. And again, those should be things that should be praised, not brought down. Right? So again, if you've got a memory, share it with me, because I love to hear about it. And thank you so much for listening. Keep the conversation going with me. I'll be back next week with probably a normal regular podcast. But I hope this has been inspirational for you and understanding of my passion as to why I love Serena Williams. So always remember, you've got this, I've got you, and I'll catch you next week on the podcast.